What is it going, everyone? It's Limit here, and today we are going to be talking about a visual novel that I played through on the Xbox Series X. I've had this in my backlog for a while, and I finally got to it. We're going to be talking about Nirvana pilot Yume. Now, this is a very unique visual novel. It's very strange, but I actually did like the story of it, and I think the story is probably its strongest, the strongest thing that it has going for it. It actually does have some gameplay. Some visual novels have gameplays, some don't, but this one actually does have some gameplay, and it revolves around racing. And I do like the idea of it. The concept is really cool, but it takes some getting used to. So let's go ahead and jump into Nirvana Pilot Yume and talk about what this game is actually about. So this game is actually a futuristic sci-fi racing visual novel. It is very unique in that aspect. There's not a whole lot of those around. I've seen actually a couple other ones, but there's not a whole lot of them. So it is unique in that, and it actually is a kind of an interesting concept because you have these vehicles, and basically there's a woman who pilots the vehicle, and then there's a guy who basically him and her will meld their minds together to actually pilot the vehicle. They both have to operate the vehicle, but only the woman's actually piloting the vehicle. It's a very strange idea, but I actually thought it was kind of cool and definitely unique. And the main character that you're playing as, he has some trauma when it comes to these vehicles and just racing in general now, because he actually accidentally got his girlfriend killed in one of these things. They were supposed to be working together, their minds were supposed to be working together, and he wasn't completely focused, and he got her killed. So your guy has basically sworn off of races, but a character called Yume comes around, and she is trying to convince him to come out of retirement and come back to racing, and your character decides to do that and help her become a racer. And you are basically teaching her how to become a racer, and you're getting to pilot the vehicles. There's actually some racing levels in this, and you get to pilot the vehicle and help her and kind of guide her through the levels. Now, I will say the racing levels are not the best thing in the world at first. They take some getting used to. It's a lot of pattern recognition. You have to get used to the level before you're going to be able to pass it. And that's not really a bad thing, except for the fact that you don't have a whole lot of chances to do it. You only have a few attempts in each level to actually get through it. And if you don't, then you basically just fail the level and the story just proceeds on. So that is kind of a bummer. I wish you could at least save before the races or something, but it is what it is. So it may take you a couple attempts to be able to get all of the achievements in this game, but still, once you get used to it, it won't be hard at all. But the actual racing, other than just, pattern recognition, the only other major flaw it has is that sometimes the controls just are not responsive. I tried jumping, and you can double jump and stuff too, and sometimes it just doesn't read your double jump. Sometimes you can press the jump button and you'll get a high jump, and sometimes you'll just randomly get a low jump. And it's just not very consistent with its controls. So that's another complaint I have. And also sometimes, and I don't know if this is due to its art style or not, because it has a very strange, but I do like the art style, but it does have a very strange art style, but it's hard to see what's in front of you always. You never know if you're just going to race right up onto a cliff and just fall right off the map, or if you're going to run into a small little ledge and explode. It's really hard to see in front of you, and that's what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about trial and error. It's going to take you a few times to actually get used to every one of these courses. You can eventually do it, and I eventually completed all of the courses and get all the achievements in this game, but it took me a couple attempts to be able to do it. That being said, even though it took me a couple attempts, I still got every achievement in this game in under 2 hours, and I was definitely not good at the racing portions. So I feel like most people can probably get all the achievements in this game pretty easily, and you can probably get them even quicker than I did. But this game took me about 2 hours to get through and to play through the entire thing. You do meet more characters other than Yume. You meet someone who is basically her rival. He was basically trying to manipulate her, and now he has turned into a rival, and he's trying to get you actually banned from helping her practice to become a future pilot. So that's another storyline that's going on in this. And you do get to meet this journalist who's trying to interview you, and another scientist who is also, it has some relationship issues with your character. I'll put it that way. I don't want to spoil it too much, but we'll just leave it there. She has a bit of a history with your character, and it makes things kind of awkward. But this game does also have some dating sim elements. You can actually date specific characters. You can date one of the main three characters. It's a little bit odd though, because no matter what, you can pick between either the journalist or the scientist, but Either way, you can still always romance Yume. A little bit strange, but whatever. That's just the way they decided to do it, I guess. But it does make it feel like your character isn't as attached to Yume as he probably should be. I will say that. But overall, I still think that this is a really fun game. I do enjoy it. The storyline was definitely interesting. There's a lot of interesting, like, kind of like politics going around when it comes to the actual like senate of this, like, you know, these people who are running these pilots and running these races and stuff. There's a lot of politics involved, a lot of just interesting stuff involved, and I did actually find the lore kind of interesting. I did like the lore, and just hearing about the stuff and hearing about how they're trying to, like, this skeevy dude's trying to get you banned from helping Yume become a pilot. It was pretty interesting. There's some fun storylines here, and along with the art style, which was really fantastic. Love the art style. I think the art style is beautiful. And there's no voice acting or anything, but all the actual, like, spelling and everything was perfectly fine. Didn't notice any issues with any of the spelling or anything, so all of that stuff was top notch as well. Overall, this is a pretty nice visual novel. Even though the racing sections aren't perfect, I still enjoyed it for what it is. And if you can pick it up on sale, I think that you definitely should try it out. I would wait for it to be on sale, though, because dropping $10, I think, is how much it usually goes for on Steam. I'm not sure exactly how much it went for on Xbox, but on Steam, I believe it goes for $10. I would wait for a sale to try to pick it up, like, for $5 or less, because if you're only going to get a couple of hours out of this game, dropping $10 is it's a little bit hard to justify. So I'll just say that, you know, it's not a terrible price to value ratio, but still, it could be better, especially with what you get here. There is an arcade mode. You can go through a lot of these races again in the arcade mode, but there's not really much reason to. There's not like any achievements tied to it or anything like that. So you might as well just go through the races in the actual story mode. That way you can at least get the achievements. That's my opinion on it, at least. But overall, Nirvana Pilot Yume is a very interesting concept. It's an interesting visual novel. It's a cool sci-fi idea, and I like a lot of the lore that is behind it, and I like the characters and the character development as well, even though they made some weird decisions with the main character Yume, and your character not really feeling like he's completely, you know, dedicated to her. I do think they should have done a little bit better on that, and I think the races could have been a little bit better as well. But overall, I still think it's a pretty okay game. I think it's okay, and I will say, like I said, pick it up on sale, and I think you'll feel like you got a better value. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.